Hey friends, I wanted to take this opportunity to look at a few addition and subtraction problems with you using base 10 blocks as a model. You may recognize this type of problem from a quiz that we took a few weeks ago. And each one of these rows of base 10 blocks represents a different quantity. So this is going to represent, this amount here is going to represent one quantity added to this amount here. So we're going to write down the numbers that these blocks represent and then add them. So we're going to start by saying that this top number here represents one whole and some decimal amount. So we can record that as one whole, and now we need to figure out what our decimal amount is. So I can see this strip of 10 hundredths here represents 1/10. So I have 1/10 and then 2/10. And then I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 hundredths. So this amount here altogether is 1 and 24 hundredths. You can imagine that there's a decimal point there. And then coming down to our second row of base 10 blocks, I have no whole numbers. So I'm going to put a 0 in my ones place, decimal point, and then I can count 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10. And remember, anytime you see 5/10, you want to automatically remember that that's the same as 1/2. So this amount here is a little bit more than 1/2 because we've got our 5/10 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hundredths. So a total of 55 hundredths. And then we're just going to add that. So we can add 4 plus 5 is 9, 2 plus 5 is 7, drop down your decimal point, 1 plus 0 is 1. So our total is 1 and 79 hundredths. Now I'm going to let 9 weeks test. Good job, and let me know if you need me. Work on a subtraction problem, and then there's 2 problems in your Google Slides assignment following this that you can do on your own. Okay? Now, I included addition and subtraction problems because I noticed that I have a tendency to skip right over these symbols here and just assume that all problems are addition. So I wanted to bring your attention to that. In this case, we're going to be subtracting this amount from this amount. So we need to start by figuring out what we have. I can see 2 wholes here, because we've got 2 flats kind of stacked one on top of the other, and 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, and then 1/100, 200ths, 300ths, 400ths, 500ths, 600ths, 700ths. So we've got 2 and 47 hundredths minus 1 whole and 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, and 2 hundredths. Go ahead and subtract. 7 minus 2 is 5. 4/10 minus 7/10, can't do it, so I need to borrow. We're going to take 1/10 from this 1 whole and regroup it into our tenths column. So now I have 14/10 minus 7/10, which is 7/10. Drop down your decimal point, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So the difference between 2 and 47 hundredths and 1 and 72 hundredths is 75 hundredths. Now, next we have an addition problem for you to do on your own. Make sure that you're adding the 2 quantities 4 hours. And last, a subtraction problem. So make sure that you're subtracting that. You guys can do those on your own. And remember, this is a review.